We need make a motion, or I'd like to call this meeting to order. Basically, it's a follow-up meeting from our last interview session, and I couldn't talk to all of the items that we want to accomplish. One, we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting that Hannah sent out earlier. And then, Ann, why don't, if you don't mind, could you at least speak to what it is we want to accomplish this evening? Is Ann there? Oh, there's Ann.
Is that the ghost of Peter Coles? No.
Ann, are you there?
Yep. And
It's muted.
Ann's there as well, so.
Is she?
Well,
She's
that's
on my
hers,
list.
right? I'm sure it's still
Yeah.
Peter's. Yeah. It says it's muted still.
Ann, can you hear us?
She appears
Did
to
she
be
mute
unmuted
herself?
now.
Doesn't realize it.
Oh, there she is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Okay, just a small problem with my microphone. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So I think it's probably best we have the agenda. If we just kind of go through the agenda one item at a time. Starting with approving the minutes from the last meeting, which was October 18th.
All right, can I hear a motion to approve minutes dated October 18th from our last meeting regarding the director hiring?
Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, I think we need to do a
Roll call.
verbal roll. Steve White,
Yes.
Tom Para,
Here.
and that's a yes, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my list. Brian Richards,
Yeah.
You said what?
Yes. Yes.
John Nadolski,
Yes.
and Ron Cole, yes. Sorry, I'm trying to find the agenda.
That's okay. So next on the list was just a discussion of the position of the Public Works for the director. So I think what needs to be decided is whether or not to go back to that pool of candidates that you had interviewed and decide on appointing one of those candidates. And if that's not the decision, then it would be to declare a failed search from that last hiring.
So I'll open it up to the group. So the question is, of the remaining candidates, which were Casey Berube and Tom Leclerc, I believe his last name is, were any of those two candidates, is there any interest in offering the position to either of those two candidates?
It's Brian Richards. That would be no.
I'd have to agree. I think we need to declare it a failed search.
John or Tom, do you
I
have any
agree. As
perspective?
much as I really don't want to go through this process again. I agree, though.
Doesn't kill you. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
No, God, that was a kill.
Yeah, I guess I'm in agreement also. I mean, if I'm not sure the other candidates would meet the criteria that were listed in the job posting.
Okay. And I would agree as well. So I think that's unanimous. So can I hear a motion to declare the job search with the remaining two candidates a failed search?
Yeah, I'd
Brian
like to make,
Richards, hi. Nope.
yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm sorry, Steve.
No,
Yeah,
you're good.
Yes, no, yes, so moved. Field search.
Okay, I'll do a roll call. Tom Pura,
Yes.
John Nadolski,
Yes.
Brian Richards,
Yes.
Steve White,
Yes.
and Ron Cole is yes as well. So Ann, before we move on, I think the next item on the agenda would be to accept or pass back the job description as written to city council with requests for changes. But I guess I have a question to both you and the broader group. With the recent news in the newspaper regarding some discussion, at least by city council, to potentially change the structure or the nature of the department to basically go back to its former structure of separated, i.e. a superintendent or chief superintendent of DPW and a chief superintendent of wastewater with no director position. What, if that is the case, would this job search be needed? Or I guess that's my question to you, Ann, is with that said, if we do pursue this opening or candidate for this opening, and that does in fact change, does that put that candidate in a position where he doesn't really have a job to apply for? I think that's my question. That's my question. I'm not going to say that's a question of the broader group, but I think it's one that I would like to have answered.
So I don't know that I have an answer for you on that. I know I also heard the discussion at the city council meeting. I don't know where that's going to go. I can't really advise you as to what you should do as a group. I think tonight's agenda was to delay it, then that's something that, you can decide to do. But I guess I just, it's really kind of the decision of the joint board to decide what to do next.
So let me open that question up to the broader group then, to the joint boards. Do any of you have a position as it relates to that question? Do you feel it's prudent to pursue a job search for the candidate with potentially a decision being made by city council to potentially separate the boards back to its former structure?
I think it's prudent that we wait and see, because it's like you said, if we go through this, say we were able to do this in 2 months, and then 3 months down the road, they eliminate the position and they go back to 2 quote unquote separate directors, then our time has been wasted. And along with the candidates' time. It's not just us, it's the people applying, the people sitting in the interviews, the people sitting at home waiting to hear. It's not fair to them as well. And until the city can come up with what they actually want to do and give us some direction, then we're spinning our wheels.
Ron, do I have a comment after? So from my understanding, the charter committee is looking at one thing in terms of making one commission for both departments. That's one of the things on the charter committee. Mm-hmm. And Ralph Figge in the L&O committee, which is what I guess was originally done, is talk about separate superintendents and everything else. As of right now, there's like a lot of verbiage going on, and I haven't heard anything except from one or two politicians about what's really going to happen. But I do agree with you. I don't think we want to hire somebody that, is going to be turn around and be out of a job. So the solution may be to wait, but I think in the interim, I think at least, and I don't know how this happens, with Fran Kane, some kind, obviously I don't think when the job description was changed and everything else, that it didn't fit for him becoming the manager, the head of the department on both. But if this is going to go on for extended period of time, I think we need to finalize and make some kind of definitive idea of what we're going to do if we're not going to move. Instead of just sitting back and waiting until God knows when the council decides to get around to it. And we're not even sure if what's been put forward is popular with the council as a whole. So I don't, just my ideas on right now is I think, the fair thing to do, we're putting all this back on Fran anyway, is to some kind of arrangement to finalize an interim kind of thing until, because I don't see this thing happening in the next 6, 12, 18 months if we can't get any closure on it.
Brian, I think that's fair. I would ask the other two commissioners to at least provide a viewpoint. I have one, and I think that's why I asked the question. But John or Tom, perspective?
Yeah, I agree with Steve and Brian. I think it's all kind of pointless to conduct a search when we don't know where we're headed with this in terms of the longevity of the job, the situation with the potential splitting of the departments again. So I don't see the point. And I agree, it really wouldn't be fair to candidates.
Do we as a commission need to show a vote of confidence in Fran's ability to temporarily run the department he's been running for 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, Ron, I think we need to do something because, obviously there's people on the council that would, Fran didn't have the necessary requirements and stuff like that. So I think we have to make a statement until we get something more concrete that we feel that he's the person to take the reins, so to speak, for the time being.
John, I'll pitch it to you before I at least propose what it sounds like we have at least a degree of consensus on.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with what you guys are talking about. I don't think it's a great idea for us to move ahead with the interview process again if there's uncertainty on what's going to happen with the position moving forward. I would feel more comfortable if we had an idea of where this is going. And, like you folks, I don't know if we, make a recommendation what we think should happen to city council in terms of what we think is best for the city. And I feel also that, something in the interim needs to be done for Fran, regardless of where this lands. It's really kind of been unfair to him for quite some time now. But yeah, I that's kind of how I feel. I mean, perhaps we can offer a recommendation where we think it should go, but ultimately it's up to city council as far as my understanding is. So, but I do agree that it doesn't make sense to interview and place a candidate if in 6 months the whole management structure is going to be different, and you've got another uncomfortable situation here that you're dealing with a new hire. So I don't think that's really fair to anyone.
Ron, if I could add one more thing, I think the Charter Commission itself is addressing partially the issue of the combined departments in January when they get through talking about how to fill vacancies on elections and stuff like that. So that's one thing. Is there, and in fact, this whole thing about splitting and all this going through the L&O committee, it's new entry. I hadn't heard about the stuff. So at this point in time, I'm not giving it a lot of credence if I can't get any information on it. Thanks.
So I would, and I'm in agreement, which is why I asked the question. And I think it really begs, the question begs, is it even worth our time? I mean, I think we all agree that, let me start with the job description as written. Is as written, do we feel confident or comfortable with the job description for the combined department and the role of director over that department? Do we all feel that that job description as written was suitable for the candidate that we would want for a combined department?
I never felt comfortable with it. Having worked in this industry as long as I have, sometimes experience speaks mounds. Sometimes it doesn't. I think they went a little overboard. I think it was funneled to what the end game was meant to be. And the end game didn't end up happening. And I think it's best to find, there's, if you have the whole umbrella between water, public works, parks, there's a lot of different stuff there. And I don't know, I was never comfortable when they made those changes.
All right. So
Rod, one more thing. Myself,
go ahead, Brian.
I'm not an expert on a lot of this stuff, but I think a department this size and so many kind of things, one of the things that I guess it was addressed in there, but somebody that runs this department's got to have experience as a manager. I mean, a good sized manager of running multi kind of things and being able to give the boards the kind of information they need to make accurate and good, good decisions on. And I think maybe it was in there a little bit, but I think that could have been expanded on some. I just a thought on my part.
Okay. So Ian, let me say how to proceed with this. I think I feel it's the general consensus of the combined commissions and basically the two boards that we are not comfortable as a group pursuing further interviews on candidates for the director of DPW, wastewater, whatever we want to call this position, until we get clarity from city council and the mayor on what the position is that we are actually interviewing for. Will that position exist based on the latest discussions that have happened both on the visioning committee as well as city council that's been published in the newspaper? What will that role be that we would be interviewing for, or do we even need to interview for it? So I don't know how you want us to make a motion for that, Ian, but that's what I'm taking away, and I think is a consensus of the two boards as it stands right now on the candidate search.
And Ron, I think the job description itself could change depending on how that comes out. Exactly. What we're doing now may not have anything to do with what's in the future. So that would probably be something we'd have to revisit.
Yeah, until we get direction again from city council and the mayor and the visioning committee. We are not at this point in a position where we feel comfortable interviewing candidates until we know what the position is that we're interviewing for.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I think it sounds like you need to make a motion doing just that. Not moving forward with a hiring or a search at this time.
Okay.
So I think,
yep.
and I'm with you, Steve. I think I know where you're going.
Yeah.
Yep.
and appointing Fran as our interim position holder.
That was the
Until we-
next question for me. Is that something that's
Yes.
appointed by the mayor through personnel
Or recommending.
or recommend, but we're pretty much all in agreement that he's been running the department
So
for as long
I
as he
think-
has, and it's capable in his hands until such a decision is made.
Right. So I think it's two motions, Ann. One would be a motion to not pursue a candidate for the open position until we have clarity from, and you guys, someone's gonna have to make this motion, but I think I'm trying to encapsulate it. So we have clarity from either the mayor and or city council on as to what the position is that we're interviewing for. So that would be the first motion. And the second motion would be recommendation by these two boards until that decision is made, that the interim holder of the position as written today would be granted to Fran Kane until we are given direction for the candidate that we need to fill.
Let me
So,
give
Ann,
that a shot, Ron.
so there's two motions, Brian. And with
Okay,
that,
so
would that
Go ahead.
solve? Let's hold on for a second. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that this would meet Ann's, again, personnel director. And would those two motions be suitable to at least voice what we want to do as it relates to this?
It sounds like that's the direction you're headed. The only information that I can provide on top of that is that Mr. Kane's current personal service agreement does have language that indicates in the absence of the DPW that he would be serving in that capacity.
Okay, so he has been, so I guess continuation of the current structure as it is today. I mean, basically that's what he's doing. So the PSA piece, he's been doing it. So basically he's been working outside of a PSA. But I guess it's our desire in absence of a candidate that Fran would continue to do what he's doing today, acting.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, so first, let's break these into a couple. The first is a tandem motion that we have called a field search and shelve the current search. Second would be that we until these joint boards receive more information from the mayor and the city council as to what the actual organizational structure is going to be between together, separate, or whatever else, that we are not going to resubmit a job description for this until we find out exactly what's going to be entailed with the job is going to be. And third, it may be in the PSA and stuff like that, but I think both boards should say that given the current circumstances, we find that we have full support and confidence in Fran Kane, and he will continue to have the support of both the boards while these things are finalized.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, I'll do roll call. Tom Pereira,
Yes.
John Nadolski,
Yes.
Brian Richards,
Yes.
Steve White,
Yes.
Ron Cole, yes. So Ann, with that said, is there any further business that needs to be conducted by the joint boards this evening as it relates to this topic? Sorry, Ann, you're breaking up. Let's try that again, Ann. Sorry, you broke up. Oh, no.
Sounds like the parents in the Charlie Brown specials.
Yeah.
It's only you, Ann. And would it be possible for you to call in? I know somebody had a 6 o'clock close. Did somebody need to get off at 6? Brian, was it you?
I can go a little bit longer. That's fine.
And would you be able to call in to the Zoom versus, or maybe shut video off? I don't know. You've got a bandwidth problem by the sounds of it. Or you're frozen.
Guys, I'm going to try stopping her video from here. Annie, you were freezing up on the video.
How about
Can you
now,
hear us
Ann?
now?
Didn't there used to be a where you could text somebody a message on this?
Yeah, I
We
don't
had
think.
to
Or
see
like a
that.
chat or something.
You know, like that she could chat you and then read it or something like that. I
Yeah,
just can't
I
find it
think-
right now.
I think because of open meeting, Brian,
We had to
we
disable it.
Yeah,
we can't do that.
All right.
Can't
That's
do
why
that.
function's disabled because of open meeting law.
Annie, can you hear us? Still breaking up.
And you're still
She must not be near a Wi-Fi AP
terribly
at City Hall.
broken.
She must not be near a Wi-Fi AP at City Hall. Because
Yeah.
I stopped her video
Shocking.
for her. Hold on, she's trying to come in a different way.
Okay.
She's coming back.
Ann, can you hear us?
Mr.
No.
Cole, can you hear me?
A little bit.
You
It
have
was-
a really bad Wi-Fi
Yeah.
connection in.
A little bit.
Can you plug in a hard wire in your office?
Or can she walk? Peter, are you in City Hall?
No, I'm at home.
I was going to say, could you walk down to your
Because
office?
the charter committee's meeting, and I got somebody doing something in council chambers right now.
Okay. I guess I don't, to the group, I think we have a consensus. We made a motion and we voted on the consensus that we don't want to pursue further interviews until we have direction on what the role that we're going to be interviewing for is. And that with that said, that we want Fran to continue to act in his current capacity as the interim leader of the two. Okay, go ahead, Ann.
Actually,
Oh, shit. You are back, but you're not.
can you hear me?
Not well. You're
Rod,
breaking up.
Rod, do we have to do 3 separate motions, or can we do all 3 all
I think
at once?
your
Yeah.
motion actually, but go ahead, Ann. Oh, damn, this is painful.
I don't think. No,
Okay, Ann, I think you're back.
Not working.
Go ahead. Okay, Ann, I think you're back. Go ahead.
am I? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Quickly, before you lose me again, I'm sorry. I am in City Hall, so I thought it would be a good location for me to do the meeting, but I guess not. The main points of the agenda were to have the discussion. The other parts of the agenda were simply if the discussion went one way, then this is what would happen. So I think you've covered your agenda. So if you've made those motions and you've voted on those motions, I think that's it.
Okay, so one other question. Does the recording that Peter's capturing act as the minutes for the meeting?
They can, but we can also, I can request that the office transcribe from the recording into paper minutes, so we can get that taken care of.
Okay, that's perfect. So if there's any questions, I believe they could reach out. If they want to reach out to me as chair of this, I'm more than willing to try to articulate what it is. But and while you were reconnecting, I think you heard us discussing this. I think we're all in agreement of there's really two separate, call it, components of this. One, that until we get direction from city council and or the mayor on the nature of the position that we're actually trying to fill, based on the latest news of both the newspaper and visioning, we do not want to pursue that. And I think the motion that Brian and we voted on captured that. And then the second part of that was that in the absence of a director, that Fran would continue to act in the capacity he has been in the past with the position being open. And that was also voted on affirmatively by the group. Okay. All right. Anything else, Ian, that you'd like us to cover? Okay. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. I'll do roll call. Tom Pereira,
Yes.
John Nadolski,
Yes.
Brian Richards,
Yes.
and Steve White. Yes.
Yes.
And Ron Cole. Yes. All right. Thank you all.